right.
This is the Saber Coach Kate podcast, where I highlight the great thinkers, athletes, and coaches in the dynamic sport of Olympic fencing.
Guard. Boy, howdy.
Back in the day, fencing coaches received training at what was then called Coaches College. Begun in the late 80s by the United States Fencing Association, its purpose was to create an opportunity for professional development for fencing coaches. When the Cold War ended, the USFA brought Soviet bloc coaches over in 1990 to lead the program, with Jack Keene serving as the main organizer. Beguinet and Vinnie Bradford took up the reins in 1993. Vinnie helped organize it for 10 years, Alex for 20. The USFA decided to cancel the Coaches College in 2003. The United States Fencing Coaches Association, USFCA, started the Coaches Academy last year to fill the professional development void. Only 8 coaches attended, but the spark was created. The Academy this year, organized by Gary Vanderwege, had tripled the number of participants. It featured a Moniteur level session from July 30th to August 3rd, and an advanced Prevot and Master level session from August 2nd through 6th. The USFCA Annual General meeting was held August 3rd, and several special awards were given out. The main purpose of the Coaches Academy was to prepare coaches for their certification exams, with most sessions being led by fencing masters like Peter Burchard, Gary Vanderwege, Paul Seiss, Vinnie Bradford, and Jen Oldham. Ariana Klinkov and David Sierra also were on hand to help guide participants. In addition, there were sessions such as sports psychology, the business side of being a fencing coach, armory sessions led by Michael Mergens, referee seminars, yoga, watching Dan Kellner give San Molis a high-level foil lesson, a roundtable discussion about coach versus referee ethics, among many others. All in all, the Coaches Academy appears to be getting off to a strong start, as evidenced by the comments from the participants. Listen now to their input about what they experienced at Keystone College in Pennsylvania in early August of this year.
My name is Dalton Nixon. I'm from Rogue River, Oregon. I am part of the Keystone College Fencing Club, and I've been fencing for about 3 years now. And basically, besides all the coaching and fencing I do for the club, I am a student here at Keystone College studying wildlife biology.
Why did you become a fencing coach?
I became a coach mainly to start with out of necessity. Our club needed more people to help out, and I figured, I'm one of the more experienced people, so I'll go ahead and do it, and I've found to really enjoy it.
That's great. That's great. What level of certification are you trying to earn here?
I am here for Moniteur in épée.
Okay.
And then I hope to soon in the future go for Moniteur in foil.
And why did you decide to come to this year's academy?
I didn't really need to decide here since I am a student at Keystone College. I am actually being paid to help out with it, and it also helped lower the price for me to participate in the academy.
What have you learned here?
A lot more than I was expecting to. It showed me quite a lot of how little I knew about coaching and what I needed to change and what I needed to learn. So there's just a lot in general about how to act as a coach.
And any additional comments about your experience here at the academy?
I felt it's been awesome to meet all the different people who come from all over the country, and even people from up in Canada coming up to learn, to teach, and it's just been an amazing experience to meet all these different people and hear their stories.
Hi, my name is Glenn Petting. I'm from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I'm a high school coach for Salem Academy in Winston and R.J. Reynolds, as well as the coach of Wake Forest University Fencing Club. Been fencing since 1975, so I've been around the block a few times, and I also coach private students. What I do besides fencing is I'm a network engineer with a company that is the Worldwide Remote Management and Monitoring Center. We contract through Avast, so I've been there now for 5 years. I'm here to actually in prep for next year to pursue Prevot and foil.
And why did you decide to become a fencing coach?
I know Walter Triplett, and his daughter and my daughter are the same age, and I was buying some equipment to start teaching my kids, and I walked into his store, and he kind of twisted my arm and says, "Do you want to coach a high school fencing team?" back in 2010, so I've been at it since then.
That's really cool. That's really cool. And why did you decide to come to this year's academy?
Gain more knowledge, and I also wanted to see, what I didn't know so I can prep. I didn't want to come in totally cold. I want to come in, get this, go back and put it into practice with my students to get more proficient at it. So the following year when I come back in to test, I've got a good amount of time under my belt doing the moves and stuff. So.
Absolutely. What have you learned here?
Some very good refinements on distance control and making the presentations for the student to understand opening distance so they can cue and change their reactions properly and adjust to the distance, and how to give the cues that are easier for them to understand so they can have more success in the action and then thereby get a lot more confidence with it.
And any additional comments about the academy or the other people that you've met here?
Well, I've had a good time meeting everybody here. I think it's a really good tight-knit group. It's a small community. Like I said, I've been in fencing since '75, so there's some people who are gray like me that know some people that I knew way back, and it's kind of fun talking about it. So.
My name's Kenny Nopens. I'm from Utah. My club is Schoolhouse Fencing. I have been fencing while coaching for about 12 years. What do I do besides coaching? I love my wife. And
Why did you become a fencing coach?
because I love my wife. She asked me, "Gee, Kenny, do you want to be an engineer? You want to be a fencing coach?" I said, "I want to be a fencing coach, but I won't make any money." She said, "But you're good at it, so do it." I said, "Yes, dear."
Wow, that's incredible to have that kind of support.
It's wonderful, and that's the only reason I can do it. She's a wonderful woman. Love of my life, the best girl ever.
What level of certification are you trying to earn here?
I am getting my certification to be a maestro.
Wow.
In épée.
Okay, épée. Okay. Wow, that's a pretty difficult task.
Yes. Well, if it was easy, everyone would have one.
That's true. So you decided to come to this year's academy, I imagine, to get your master's, but was there another reason?
I'm here to give a presentation for my thesis or research project, and I'm going to do a breakdown of video. So you can watch video and see what's really going on, what to watch for. Most people watch videos and they say, "Wow, oh, look at that cool flick. Wow, oh, he did a flush, wow." That's all they talk about, is like they totally miss the point. So I'm going with a very basic idea of these are 5 ideas to watch for and different perspectives, and take it from there.
What have you learned while you've been here?
Not to give podcast interviews. I arrived yesterday. We played a couple games today. I did the 1, 2, 3 ninja game first time, so I learned that. Otherwise, I really haven't done much, so I haven't had much of an opportunity to learn yet. I've helped with a couple of people doing their coaching practice, so I was their student, so that was good. Pretty much stuff I already know because I'm a really horrible fencer, so they told me all my mistakes, so that's good.
Okay. Any additional comments you want to make about the academy or about the people here?
Kate's awesome.
Wow, well, thanks. You're really awesome, too.
Thanks.
Fred Sims. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. The name of my club is the Alcazar Fencing Club, and I've been fencing for 41 years.
Wow. What do you do besides coaching?
I'm a fraud investigator for Cuyahoga County.
Okay.
I've done that for 30 years now, and about to retire, 6 months from retirement.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Why did you become a fencing coach?
I became a fencing coach largely because I couldn't fence anymore, and I coached at a high schools for 7 years. And then I started giving lessons at a community center to study for my Prevot examination.
Okay. What level of certification are you trying to earn here?
Prevot,
For which weapon?
for foil.
Why did you decide to come to this year's academy? I mean, besides the obvious trying to get your Prevot, was there another reason?
Well, actually, yes. I attended last year's academy, and I had such a good time, and I received so much information. I met so many people. I made a lot of friends, and this academy is much closer to my home, so I had to attend this one. I really had to. And it was a chance for me to meet Vincent Bradford again. I hadn't met Vinnie in like 31 years. So
That's great. What have you learned here?
I've learned how to hide the blade, some more modern techniques. It's when you're removed from the sort of the mainstream of competitive fencing, there are things that occur that you don't pick up, that you have to come back into the mainstream to see. Mm-hmm. And I can't teach what I don't know. Right. So that's chiefly why I'm here, to learn some new techniques and to take it back to my students.
That's great. Any additional comments about the academy itself or about the people here?
Oh, what can I say? I love fencers. They are some of the nicest people on earth. Mm-hmm. A little crazy, but I absolutely love them. The food is great here. The facilities are really nice. And I hope to come to these every year from now on.
My name's Paul Seiss. I'm from East Hampton, Massachusetts, where I'm head coach and owner of Pioneer Valley Fencing Academy. I've been fencing for about 25 years, and in my previous life, I used to teach science.
Why did you become a fencing coach?
Well, that's easy, actually. When I was a college fencer, in my senior year, some members from the women's team came up to me and said that the coach pretty much ignored them and didn't give them lessons, so they asked me if I would help teach them some things, and that quickly turned into formal lessons. And then when I graduated and then started graduate school, some people in the club noticed that I had a black leather vest, and that led to me giving more lessons and eventually going to coaches' clinics, learning how to coach, becoming a UMass coach eventually the UMass fencing coach, and then opening my own club.
So the black vest gave you away, huh?
Yes, it did. I should never have gotten it.
What is your role here at the academy this week?
I'm on the staff. I'm in charge of Moniteur level épée.
Why did you decide to come to this year's academy?
Well, I was one of the people that was in the discussion concerning where it would be located. And when Keystone College here in La Plume, Pennsylvania was mentioned, it was fairly local to where I was going to be during the summer. So I thought it would be a good fit for what I could do in the summer. Plus, it would be helping out with developing the Coaches Academy, which I think is a very good thing.
What have you learned while you've been here?
Actually, it's been great. I think I've learned a lot. Just today, we had a great foil presentation by Dan Kellner. And then earlier this morning, we had a lecture on sports psychology by Dr. Steve Howell, who's the head coach of the fencing club here. And that was just great because a lot of times you'll have sports psychology presentations by coaches, and it's coaches doing sports psychology, which isn't exactly their specialty. But here, this was a really professional academic lecture, and it was really good for us to hear what a pro would think about it.
Right, and he's doing research right now in the lab here, and I found that really an interesting presentation as well.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Any additional comments about the academy?
I'm just really surprised that it's gone as well as it has. Actually, I really shouldn't say it that way. I'm pleased that it's gone as well as it has. Not so much surprised because the people that are running it, they're quite good and they put a lot of effort into it. And I think that anybody interested in learning more about coaching, or maybe fencers who would be transitioning into coaches, should really consider coming here next year, wherever it's held, because it'll definitely be worth it. The staff has been really great, giving a lot of personalized attention to the people taking the classes. And this being the last day of the Moniteur week, we've had a lot of success from the candidates. I think everybody has passed, and people are very happy. They're very proud of what they've done, and I think they ought to be.
Hey, my name is Bruce Gilman, and I'm the head fencing coach at Vassar College in Poughkeepsie, New York. And I've been fencing since 1982. And besides coaching, I do national refereeing and a bunch of other fencing things.
You're one of the lucky ones that gets to do fencing full-time.
Yeah, it's great to get to do what you love.
Yeah.
And make money at it, too.
I know, even better. Why did you decide to become a fencing coach?
I decided to become a fencing coach because I actually started fencing, as I said, in 1982 at the University of Rochester. And I knew nothing about fencing before that, besides Three Musketeers and movies. But I went to a student activities fair and saw somebody standing there with an épée and said, I want to do that. So my freshman year, we had seniors leading the fencing club, and they'd show up when they felt like it, and it was a fun time, but, you know. And then they all graduated, and I was left as president of the fencing club in my second year as a sophomore, and so I had to learn a lot about coaching fencing pretty quickly. But I had help. A gentleman named Rob Hupp was there as a grad student, and he's now the assistant coach at MIT. And being in Rochester, that happened to be where a certain gentleman named Bucky Leach was running a fencing club. So we hired him to come in once a week and give us lessons.
Nice. That's a pretty familiar story. A lot of college club programs have to rely on their students to be the ones giving lessons and whatnot.
Yeah.
What level of certification are you trying to earn here?
I am a Prevot in all three weapons, and so I'm not taking certification here. I will probably within the next year or two be working on my master's thesis, and hopefully next year.
That's great. Which weapon do you want to get your master's in?
Well, it will either be foil or épée, and I haven't decided yet.
Okay. Why did you decide to come to this year's academy?
Because I was convinced into running for Northeast Vice President of the USFCA, and I have been now Northeast Vice President this year. And thank you, I think. And
Double-edged sword there.
yeah. And this is the annual general meeting, and it's only 2.5-hour drive for me. And so I also came and did help out with the certification exams for Moniteur.
What have you learned during your time here at the academy?
Well, anytime you're giving certification exams, you learn some interesting things from the candidates, different games you haven't seen and lots of other things. I've had a chance to observe some good lessons in the short time I've been here, and Dan Kellner came today with his student and showed us some excellent foil tactics and moves, which I'll use.
Yeah, that was really neat to watch. Do you have any additional comments about the academy or the people that you've met here?
Wonderful people here. I mean, this is the place to come to learn about coaching fencing. All aspects were covered. I wasn't here for the whole time, but there were many, many things covered. Sports psychology in addition to lessons and all the weapons. And this is a very useful conference. And I plan to attend as often as I can. Also, people should be looking to attend the regional conferences that we have.
I'm Dr. Steve Howell. I'm from Keystone College in Pennsylvania, fencing and coaching with the Keystone College Fencing Club. I've been fencing for about 20 years and coaching for perhaps 17 of those. I became a fencing coach because I was a grad student and getting used to teaching. And when I started fencing, there wasn't enough coaching around, so I founded a club and hired a fencing master and learned to coach underneath him. Hi.
And what level of certification are you trying to earn here?
I have just earned my Moniteur in foil.
That's what I heard.
I'm
Congratulations.
very excited about. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's quite an accomplishment.
There was a lot to learn. There was far more to learn at the Coaches Academy than I ever envisioned. And it was a challenge, but it was a good challenge.
What have you learned here?
A lot of the technique beyond the basics. I'm a pretty good teacher from all the years of college teaching, and teaching the basics repeatedly to a college beginner class gets you skilled at that. But knowing where to go once they get past the intermediate level is a real challenge, unless you know some of the more complicated concepts that you can learn here at the Coaches Academy.
You also were one of the presenters today. Can you talk about what you talked to us about?
Certainly. I was talking today on sports psychology. I am a psychologist. That's my full-time job. I'm a research psychologist here at Keystone, head of the psychology department. And recently I've been getting into teaching sports psychology. Makes sense. I'm also a fencing coach. And today I tried to talk a little bit at a sort of an overall level for people who might not have seen it before about personality, how it manifests differently in athletes, how athletes are different from each other, and how coaches need to think about that when they praise them, when they work on actions with them, that sort of thing.
It was a really fascinating presentation. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
Any additional comments about the Academy itself, or maybe some of the people that you've met?
Everyone here was so nice and so talented. You learned something from every conversation. It was really enjoyable.
My name is Diana Carolyn Pixie Roan, otherwise known as Pixie Roan. I'm born in New York City, New York. I was raised in Queens, New York. My club is the Wallingford Swarthmore Panthers Fencing Club in Philadelphia Division, U.S. Fencing, located in Media, Pennsylvania. I have been fencing for 35 years in foil. I began my épée studies in 1993 due to the NCAA edition of women's épée, and I began my saber studies in 1996, once again due to the addition through the NCAA. I am a health, physical education, and dance teacher by trade. Right now, I'm assigned to middle school. Besides coaching, I am also the project dance director, running a beginning dance company, studying different forms of dance. I'm also part of the Persona Zenobia Dance Company, which is an African dance-based company.
Why did you become a fencing coach?
I became a fencing coach because, due to my experiences growing up in New York City in housing, I had an opportunity to continue my studies in high school and remain out of trouble from the principal's office. Fencing was another outlet because I'd spent my entire life as a professional child dancer, starting at the age of 3, and then I was incorporated into the United States Gymnastics Federation, and it gave a very delicate balance between the dance world, the gymnastics world. Fencing was just another progression where I did see I had some talent, and also I don't back down from a dare.
Somebody dared you to do it?
Yes, my training partner in gymnastics, we're 2 freshmen at Long Island City High School in Queens, New York, and we had our class scheduled for the afternoon. It said we had to return to gymnastics training. We went back to the same gym, but we noticed that we didn't recognize any of the kids that were there, so we figured this was just a new set of kids, not realizing it was actually the fencers getting ready for their special practice at 3:30. Nevertheless, after we finally was taken to the correct gym, my training partner said, I wonder if girls do that. We went to our guidance counselor. She said yes, but we haven't had a girl in the fencing program in 4 years.
Wow.
So with permission from the gymnastics instructors, they gave us permission to go back, and she said, okay, fine, I dare you to do it. Now, I don't back down from dares. This is one of my problems. Turns out that I was actually pretty good with it, but the training schedule seemed to be harsh on my training partner. She says, I can't do all this running. It's affecting my flexibility.
Yeah.
So she left, but I stayed because I'm stubborn. And it turns out that I really did understand what the game was about.
That's a really great story. What level of certification are you trying to earn here?
Technically, because I was at U.S. Fencing Coaches College, I did complete Foil 3 and Epee 3, and I was pending Sabre 3. So because of the equivalency laws, the USFCA said I can get an equivalency for both Foil and Epee. However, I was only completed Sabre 2, and I'm not as confident in teaching Sabre lessons as I am on the same level with Foil and Epee. So I figured while I'm here, I should study Sabre. And, you know, if I'm doing well and I really have that same confidence and spark that I give lessons in Foil and Epee, I would go ahead and attempt to do the Prevot test in Sabre.
Okay. Why did you decide to come to this year's academy?
Location, location, location. I'm in Philadelphia Division. I am 2 hours and 30 minutes from here versus in the past where they had them in Oklahoma, or they had them out on the West Coast. And then with combining the travel from nationals and then, I have to make another big trip out west, it just really was just too much time on my side. So with it being literally, like we say in Philadelphia, it's up the street at the top of the Blue Route, there really wasn't an excuse not to be here.
Yeah. What have you learned here?
Oh my goodness, I've seen, first of all, just to see so many women doing Sabre, it is the most relieving thing ever. Philadelphia is just a very small group of us, ladies who are doing Sabre, and we pretty much know each other because we have been together for pretty much 20 years. It's once we leave the area, we don't get to run into to other ladies who do Sabre. We're not counting Metro Division. There's a whole bunch of them there. But to see that there are other ladies who are interested in teaching Sabre as much as I am, it is such a huge relief. And it makes me feel that I am not alone in this. There are others that are like me that are doing what I'm doing. So I don't feel as much as an outsider as I do when I'm in my home division.
Any additional comments about the academy itself or the people that you've met here?
I'm so happy to be here. I'm under very extraordinary circumstances due to multiple medical complications. And every time I go to a training camp, I'm always hesitant about, one, will I be able to finish the camp? Because there's always a risk that I can start and then I have to leave for a medical emergency. This is pretty common. Even here, when I saw my doctor call, I went, oh, here we go. But everybody here has been accepting and very accommodating. I haven't met one person that had a I'm holier than thou, which has happened in a few camps. I have not felt that here at all. I love it that I'm accepted just for being who I am. I know I will always stand out because that's just the nature of being Pixie. But everyone is welcoming and accepting of that. And there's not too many camps I can go to and I can walk away with saying, I can go to Berkeley and I have some coaches there that I'm comfortable. If I have a child, I'm vacationing out on the West Coast. Okay, if you decide to fence, you can go here, 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 and here, and I know that they're safe. And I understand the background in which they're teaching. You can't do that with all clubs. But what I love about when we get together, either through USFCA or even USFA, when we did have Coaches College, I had full confidence that if something happened to me medically, because that is a reality that I have to live every day, my kids have a place to go, and they won't be confused. They'll have an understanding of why I taught the way that I taught, and they see that, guess what, this is happening over here too. So there wouldn't be any confusion, it'd be a smooth transition. And I can't be appreciative enough, and it's already has happened for me as a coach, because in 2001 when I was removed from life, because medically I just was not doing well, my kids had a place to go and everyone stepped in. And in fact, it was all the fencing masters from Bucks County Academy of Fencing. They all said, Pixie, we got this. I cannot tell you the relief it was to know, and they were from, I met them actually through USFCA. And I can't tell you the relief and the gratitude and how great they've been to all of my kids from all of these years, from 1999. And you can't put a price on that. So I'm always grateful when I get to come to these conferences.
It is a great way to build community.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hi, I'm Erica Swift. I'm from Fairbanks, Alaska. I'm a member of the UAF Fencing Club. That's the University of Alaska at Fairbanks. I've been fencing about 6 years over the last 2 decades. And I am a 6th grade teacher.
You're a very brave woman.
Thank you. I think that some days as well.
Why did you become a fencing coach?
I've always loved fencing. Even during those years I wasn't able to join a club or just wasn't able. And I know how valuable a coach is because when I go to competitions, if I don't have a coach there or someone from my team, I have a very difficult time competing. So I thought, what better way to help others than to be a coach? And then the certification that I have earned this year, woohoo! I am now able to use that to build my own fencing club or my own fencing class in my elementary school.
And what level did you earn just this morning?
Oh, I earned a Moniteur in foil, and that now I have 2 Moniteur, 1 for épée and 1 for foil.
Congratulations. That's really great.
Thank you very much.
Why did you decide to come to this year's academy? Especially because, I mean, it's not like you're just a 2-hour drive away like some people here.
I wanted to start the fencing program at my school, and there is a bit of misunderstanding about fencing, especially when you're interacting with younger children and they can get hurt, etc. And I wanted to have a certification to show both the school district and my future parents that I've been well trained, I know what I'm doing, and their kids are in good hands, and I could learn the latest in teaching methodologies for fencing as well.
What have you learned while you've been here?
I have learned different ways to set up lessons. I've learned how many fabulous fencing coaches from around the country will come and are willing to share their expertise. It's a great networking possibility. And just basic things like terminology, make sure that I'm up to date on the latest referee rules, etc. And that's just the basics of it. There's so much more intricacies.
Hi, my name is Ruth Ochia. I'm from Wallingford, Pennsylvania, which is right outside of Philadelphia. I fence for Wallingford Swarthmore Panthers. I've been fencing since I was an undergrad, way back when in the dark ages, 88. What I do besides coaching, I am faculty at Temple University. I'm a bioengineer by training, and I teach in the bioengineering program.
Why did you decide to become a fencing coach?
Pixie made me.
I have a feeling she'd be very persuasive.
Yeah, she is. I was actually half doing it anyway when I joined the club. It's only been a year since I've joined the Panthers. And why not? I was kind of leading footwork and, giving people hints, and this would be a way of formalizing it.
Okay. What level of certification are you trying to earn here?
I have just earned my Moniteur in both foil and épée.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
That's so fabulous. Why did you decide to come to this year's academy?
Well, this is since I just came back to fencing. I was fencing for a long time, stopped for a very long time, just came back this past year. Actually, Pixie Roan suggested that I come to the academy. It was close by to where we are, and it made life so much easier, and that's why I decided to come this year.
Yeah, it's a pretty intensive week, but that way you get a bunch of knowledge pretty quickly.
It was overload. I once suggested that it was like drinking water out of a fire hydrant. Oh. It comes fast, it comes quick, and you hope you just don't drown.
What are a couple of the things that you've managed to remember from the torrent of information?
A lot of it was for a coach. Yeah, I've taken lots and lots of lessons in my past, but I never thought about what the coach was doing. I looked at the cues and I did it. I never thought about, wait a minute, what were the cues? when were they given, why were they given, and why did they work? And that's something that was, really eye-opening for me.
Yeah, there's a lot more going on than you ever realize until you start being trained like this.
I agree. I agree.
Any additional comments about the academy or the people here?
Oh, the people are great. I was working with Paul Seiss, and then he was making comments that made me want to work with him as a competitive fencer to improve my competitive fencing. It's like, I never thought about that before. Maybe I was doing it, but I never thought about it. But also, they're very kind and very giving of their time and their efforts in an effort to get you comfortable with the idea that you're going to start coaching as well.
Hi, my name is Ed Ploy. I hail from Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and the Williamsport Fencing Club. I have been fencing for roughly 15 years, and inherited the club from a number of people and have been coaching there for maybe 6 or 7 years now.
Oh, that's great. Are you a full-time coach then?
I am not. We run 2 nights a week for 2-hour sessions, and that's roughly the weekly commitment for me for coaching.
All right. Why did you decide to become a fencing coach?
Well, I began fencing late in life. I was in my 40s and tried to compete for a while and didn't. I had some success and enjoyed myself quite a bit. But even though it was late in life, the fencing bug bit me hard immediately upon having started. And we had the club in Williamsport, and we wanted to continue it, number one, so that we had a place to fence, number two, so that we could introduce the sport to the kids in the community. And so I began to coach, and myself and one other fellow teach a beginner course and have introduced some kids to competition. And that's how it all came about.
All right. Now, we just finished our general meeting for the year, and you got a level of certification at this academy. What was it, and for what weapon?
Yes, I'm happy to say that I earned my Moniteur de fleuret in foil. My Moniteur level certification in foil at the conference here.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Why did you decide to come to this year's academy?
Well, having been entirely self-trained in fencing from books and observation, having never taken a class, never taken an individual lesson, and yet being in the position of teaching a class and sometimes individual lessons, and finding that the annual Coaches Academy was in my backyard, basically, I thought it would be a good idea to come and attend and actually learn a little bit more about what I've been doing for a number of years.
And make it official.
Exactly.
Yeah. What have you learned here?
Well, the academy included seminars in risk management and in learning theory and in sports psychology, and those were all very helpful to me. I have learned a good bit about modern coaching techniques and the way foil is being taught. So all around, in general, it's been a good experience.
Any additional comments about the academy itself, or maybe some of the people that you've met?
Well, it's certainly a great crowd of people. The fencing masters who have attended here to teach have all been very warm and open and sharing of their experience and their knowledge. The college campus here at Keystone College has been great. It's been a great vacation for me. This is my year's vacation, so I'm glad to say that it's been a good experience as a vacation.
Although it hasn't been much of a vacation.
No, they've kept us very busy. I've been on my feet quite a bit and on my backside in chairs listening to lectures quite a bit. They kept us busy for roughly 12 hours a day all week. But it kept my mind off work, so that's fine.
And that's what a vacation is all about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm Daniel Checkeye. I'm from the West Shore Fencers Club. I've been fencing for about 5 years now. Besides coaching fencing, I spend a lot of time raising my daughter. She's 14 and a fencer, and I have a lot of fun. I try to go to the movies once a week with my girlfriend, and so we see a lot of films and kind of take that in. That's one of our main hobbies there outside of coaching.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to become a fencing coach?
I became a fencing coach because my club needed a coach. My head coach had to step down, and he thought, hey, you'd be a good fit for this. You've been doing it for a couple of years now. You have good rapport with the kids and new students, so give it a try. So I did.
And I have to congratulate you. You just earned not one, but 2 certifications at this academy. So tell my listeners what that was in, like what weapon and what level.
I earned my Moniteur of Saber and my Moniteur of Épée here.
And that makes you now a Moniteur of all 3, right?
That's right. I'm a Moniteur des Armes. I had my Moniteur des Fleurettes from Mark Masters last year. I earned that out at Fencing Academy of Philadelphia.
Wow, that's really great. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Why did you decide to come to this year's academy?
I decided to come to the academy this year because I wanted to round out my fencing education, and I knew I needed help teaching with cues in my individual lessons. And it's not something that you can pick up super intuitively on your own or even watching YouTube videos. It was hard for me. I could see the coaches, they showed people doing actions, but I didn't understand exactly how it was working. And coming here and working with the really high-level coaches that we got access to here has been amazing. It's been such a great help.
Well, other people have mentioned that this week has been really full of learning opportunities. What are a couple of things that stand out to you?
The things that really stood out to me, besides all the excellent cueing and the academic work and things like that, were how accessible some of these high-level people are. They're real people, you know. I watch them on YouTube. I spend time reading their books, reading their articles, and I come here and I get to meet them, and not only do we take classes from them, but then we sit down and have lunch with them. We eat dinner with them every night. We sit in our rooms and talk, and it's just been amazing. I've been starstruck, but at the same time realized how humbled these people are, and it's just been awesome. Yeah.
Any additional comments about the academy or the other participants?
I would encourage everyone to come out and give this a try. I thought about it, and for the 9 days that I've been here, or will be here on Sunday, the cost per day for access to one of the individuals in this clinic would be worth it. The cost per day to have access to all of these individuals, from the time I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning until the time I'm going to bed at 11 o'clock at night, with at least 6 hours in the gym learning how to give lessons and all of the other presentations, you just can't put a price tag on it. This is what you need to do to become an effective coach.
My name is David Sierra. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas, the head coach at Cutting Edge Fencing Center. I've been involved in the sport of fencing for about 28 years. Other than coaching, I'm a full-time coach, but I also am a national level referee, and I work as a referee assigner at the regional level and a referee mentor and trainer as well.
Why did you become a fencing coach?
So for me, fencing is, or coaching fencing, I should say, is an aspect of teaching. I enjoy teaching. I enjoy helping people to learn new things and become better about themselves, and to become to learn new things about what they can do. I also it was a way to turn my hobby into a profession.
What level of certification are you trying to earn here?
So I currently, before Coaches College started, have a Master of Saber, and I earned that last year. This year, I am here trying to earn my certification as a Master of Foil.
Why did you decide to come to this year's academy?
It's important for me every year to do a certain amount of professional development, and this was a good way for me to get that done, as well as an opportunity to do the testing for foil. I also wanted to learn a little bit more about the foil. It's not my first weapon, not something I have high-level students in like I do in Sabre. So the opportunity to work with some good instructors, and then also the non-fencing, or I should say the non-blade in hand presentations here that are going on are good as well. The sports psychology, the business development, and risk management and things like that are also very good.
What have you learned here?
So I've learned a lot about foil that I wasn't familiar with before, techniques and things of that nature. We've had some great presentations about, a great one this morning about the business development in fencing. Really good one yesterday on sports psychology and athlete motivation and things like that. And then also just made some really good contacts here with the other attendees and the other instructors and presenters here. The other thing I'm here also doing is I am a member of the Certification and Accreditation Board, and I'm involved in giving Moniteur level exams, as well as potentially some of the other exams, the higher level exams, to some of the people who are going for their certifications in Sabre. So, because that's one that I do.
Any additional comments about the academy itself or the participants?
So it's a small group this year. There's not too many folks here, but the folks that are here are all working really, really hard. The instructors are great. This is a really nice location up here in Pennsylvania. Really enjoyed seeing all the green, very different from what it is back in Fort Worth, and it's just kind of good to get away and out of my regular space and do some professional development up here. It's kind of important for me to do that every year.
Hi, my name is Mark Logan. I'm from Richmond, Virginia, and I belong to two clubs. I belong to Sal Green, that's my primary club, and I operate for Chesterfield County Park and Rec, Chester Knights, a club that's been around since 1985. It's partly for them and partly for trying to serve that club better that I met Walter Green at a USFCA regional event in Durham, and got to understand that probably the most hidden truth concerning fencers is, this might be an additional comment, but I'm going to give it now, is that their hearts really are open to the sport and open to anyone who really loves the sport.
How long have you been fencing?
So I fenced in college. I fenced for about 2 years, and then I laid off, and then I fenced for 6 years when Wes Glahn came to town and in Richmond, Virginia. And then he got carried away to Penn State, so we lost him. And then I let it go, and about 13 years ago, I was asked by a nephew to take him to a club and show him how to fence. And my nephew's gone, but I'm still trying to learn or teach people how to fence better.
Why did you become a fencing coach?
Yeah. So now this gets to be metaphorical. This is so that I'm going to open my heart a little bit. And, the blade in literature, in my mind, is the instrument of truth. And as an instrument of truth, it divides what's false from what's real, what's good. I like participating in a sport that, metaphorically at least, rises from that idea. And that's why that's the big deal thing. So there's a third club I managed for 8 years with out in Amelia called Amelia Steel under the auspices of 4-H. And so these were rural kids, many of them homeschooled, who just loved the idea of fencing. There's another bunch of people that really compelled me to associate more and more with Walter Green and Matron Don. And those people here, I get a world-class experience here. Anyway, there is a sonnet by William Shakespeare, they're all enumerated. Sonnet 37 might do for a good read by anybody who hears my remarks, but it ends in the couplet, "Look what is best that best I wish for thee, that good I have, then 10 times happy me. So that's, I mean, when I'm coaching, when I open my best efforts to my fellow fencer, and he becomes a better fencer for that, oh yeah, I'm 10 times happy.
Why did you decide to come to this year's academy?
It's time to learn some more. Last couple of years I've been working through an injury concerning my knee. 6 months ago I had my knee replaced, and it was time to get back to work.
And what level of certification are you trying to earn here?
Oh, Prevot for
And any additional comments about the academy or the participants?
Yeah, I can't find one that isn't of a stellar quality and character. And the efforts that the staff have taken this year to show consideration for the attendees, even to the point of providing washers and dryers that we don't have to pay for, and we've been here a week. Can you imagine what we'd smell like if we didn't?
Yeah, I don't even want to think about that.
Right. So, I mean, that thoughtfulness. I wish we could have gotten the cafeteria to stay open a half hour, 45 minutes more. But
yeah.
That's not a big deal.
Nah, not a big deal. Thanks.
Thank you. See you guys.
Hi, my name is Nestor Grajales, and I'm coming from Orlando, Florida. My club is Takata Fencing Academy and Club, and it has been in operation for 5 years. I've been fencing for 35 years. Started in college class and eventually joined the Puerto Rican national team for 7 years, and then came to Orlando, and I've been in Orlando since. Previously, I just retired from teaching. I used to teach graphic arts at Valencia Community College, and I stopped in 2013 to concentrate full-time on my club.
Why did you become a fencing coach?
Because I've been fencing for so long, I wanted to give back everything that I've learned. One of the things I learned while I was fencing was that the group of fencing was really unique, and I wanted to be able to give back some of that uniqueness, and because of the experience I had over the years of fencing.
What level of certification are you trying to earn here?
I am trying to get a provost level certification for both foil and epee.
Wow, 2 weapons. Why did you decide to come to this year's academy?
I've had a number of students that have done really well at nationals. Some have placed in the top 8 in various NACs, and as recently as the Salt Lake City National Championships. So in order for me to continue to provide them the level of coaching they need, I need to up my level of coaching. So it's to be fair to my students.
What have you learned here?
The teaching has been really great. The coaches have been really great. I'm really impressed with the seminars. I think I've gotten a lot of good club information from seminars that, as a startup club that we are with only 5 years experience, has been really helpful.
That's great. Any additional comments about the academy or the participants?
The participants have been great. There's this lady who does a podcast, and she is amazing. Okay, let me just tell you that.
You are too kind.
And then everybody's been really friendly, very, very amicable, willing to share their thoughts and feelings. So it's been a really, really great experience.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm Nicholas Hinton, and I'm from Harrisburg, PA. I fence with Shippensburg University, where I coach at, and then I also fence at the West Shore Fencers Club. I've been fencing for about 5 years now, and then outside of fencing, I work in IT, and I just try to keep busy.
Why did you become a fencing coach?
So the Shippensburg University Club that I started with started my freshman year of college, and I kind of joined. I liked it. I got injured in a car accident, but I wanted to stay active with the club because I liked the people. So I started doing reffing, started finding things outside of just being a fencer. Kind of learned about that whole environment outside of just actually fencing, and then they never got rid of me.
That's a good thing.
So I just kept sticking around with them.
All right. What level of certification have you earned, or are you trying to earn here?
So I've already earned my Moniteur of foil, and then today I'm testing for Moniteur of epee.
Great. Okay. Well, good luck on that one today.
Thank you.
Why did you decide to come to this year's academy?
Well, for me, it's because Shippensburg University really started as a student-led initiative, we don't have a certified professional coach. We're purely student-run, or in this case, former student that keeps coming back. So when I graduated college, we had done some tournaments intercollegiately with a couple other fencing groups, and seen what it was like between the clubs that had coaches versus the clubs that had coaches. And we started to see that distinction between what their styles were, how they fenced, the atmosphere, what that was like, and we kind of wanted some of that. We wanted to be able to take our fencers to that next level, but we weren't always necessarily sure how to do it. And after I graduated, started working, I found Dan at the West Shore Fencers Club, joined up with him, and he was the one who really started to help me walk through what it is to be a coach, how to get into that whole atmosphere of coaching, and what steps do I need to take next in order to bring that back to Shippensburg and really help my kids. And so that's really why I came to the academy. Was Dan really recommended it, and it's from everything I saw with it, it looked like the best next step of everything to come here, get just all of the knowledge shoved in my brain, try to retain what I can, and from it, use that to kind of start a launching point. Because with the Coaches Academy, I knew that there would be almost no other area or situation where this level of coaching and coach development would be in one spot. And that's kind of like the driving factor for why I was like, I need to go to this. And it doesn't hurt that with it being right here in Keystone, I'm like 2.5 hours south. Yeah. So I didn't have to factor in the flight expense or anything else. I could just bop on up. And for me, being a really green fencer and coach, it was a big motivating factor for like just the ease of coming up, but at the same time knowing that I'm going to get a lot out of it. And it made it a really just quick, easy decision. Do the PTO, come up, call it a day, learn until I just collapse.
Of all the things that you have learned, what has really stuck with you?
Learning to distinguish between what you're going for and where your students want to go for. So I'm not sure why that popped to mind, but that's what kind of pops to mind. So with Moniteur, it's been described to me, and I really agree with it, as it's a teaching level. It's getting people introduced into fencing. So with Moniteur, it's how do you teach people fencing, the basics of what is it as a sport, what is the background of it, what are the weapons, how do you use it, the very general aspects of it that someone can make a very robust toolbox with, but not necessarily be unequipped to deal with various situations. Things where they know they can recognize things, they can use it, and they feel comfortable with it. Getting to that nice, good atmosphere where they're good with it. They just have fun doing it. I think that's the big distinction about always having fun with it. And then when it becomes a little bit more of that fun for that student, where it becomes more of almost a passion, I'd say, is where I start to see that transition into where that Prevot comes in, where now you're not just trying to coach or teach the student, you're also coaching them of how to get to that next level. And so taking away from the Coaches College, it's about, for me, recognizing the distinction between the two, because then that's going to help me change up and better correct the way I coach and teach. Because I now know that if my students are just want to come and fence, have a good time, it's a club sport, that I shouldn't be teaching them like a 4 fencing time action, because it's just going to be way out there. No, it's fun to do the basics, but if I have someone who's super comfortable with all of that and just does it on their own, then okay, no, I can comfortably take that up another level, and now they're going to have fun doing it at the next level, and I'm not going to overwhelm them because that's where they're at. And so it's a recognition of both where I am as a coach / teacher and where my students are.
Okay, that's great. Any additional comments about the Academy or the participants?
This has been amazing, just in all capacities. Had no idea what to expect coming here, just zero idea. But the amount that I can take away from this and the amount that I'm going to, in the coming months, probably look back and realize I learned without even actually realizing I learned it initially, I know is just going to be huge. It's between the packets, between the one-on-one time, between the ability to just walk up to people who are at the top level and just sit down and pick their brains and then just eat lunch with them like normal people. It's not just only the coaching, training, and development, but just the bringing it down to a very human level where I came up to this thinking I would be totally out of my league and just completely beyond any sort of comfort zone, where I wouldn't be able to learn a lot because I would just be so like fish out of water. But the opposite's true. It's just been a wonderful experience where I've enjoyed my time, I've enjoyed what I've learned, and I've enjoyed the people. And it's just been a really fun just experience overall that like just wonderfully caught me off guard.
My name is Mark L. Masters. I'm from Philadelphia right now. My club is the Fencing Academy of Philadelphia Incorporated. I've had a weapon in my hand since I was 14, started the local YMCA, the local YWCA, just thought it was lots of fun, never did it seriously, was inspired at 10 years old by the movie Scaramouche, Stuart Granger, Vivian Leigh. I wanted to be Stuart Granger, okay? Maybe I am, I don't know. And it wasn't until I went to college that I really became a much more serious fencer and competitor. I was going to be a 3-year whiz. I got recruited out of a beginner's class at Wayne State University under Maestro Istvan Danushi, who I guess saw my talent or whatever, and in 3 years turned me from a beginner in his college class to second in the NCAAs in men's épée. I was also very fortunate. I had friends who were on the team who had been junior men's saber champion, who'd been, one of my friends on the team ended up Olympic finalist in 1976, so I had incredible training partners to learn from, and Maestro Danushi had a great gift for taking a kid in a college class, seeing his talent, and making something of it. I stopped after college, and I just enjoyed the physical work of training. Okay, and this was before fitness boom in America and things like that. So to improve my own training, I started to learn about physical fitness and training. And that's kind of become one of my niches as a coach and here at the and as part of the USFCA. I authored the fitness questions on the written exam. And I'm a certified fitness instructor from the American College of Sports Medicine also. But I didn't want to do it in the academic area that at that time was what was being offered at the university. So after taking some time off and becoming a fencing bum and going to Europe and training, and I trained in Germany in Talbot-Bischofsheim, in Italy with the legendary fencing master Monterotti, and then in Poland with a young fencing master there. And I made a couple of B Cup finals in épée. I came back to the U.S., decided to go back to graduate school. And I went back in recreation. There wasn't fitness management and sports management like there is now. That was the best thing. And after training in Europe, though, I saw the European approach to recreation and fitness for kids. And I kind of came to the realization that the most important thing we do in life, regardless of how old you are, is play. And so I wanted to go back into recreation for the business management aspect of play, and then apply that to fencing. And at that time, there were no fencing clubs as operating businesses. They were connected with the university, there was Santelli, and really it was his equipment business, okay? And there were a few, the New York Athletic Club, that was a private club, okay? So that's why I ended up doing it, and I think even today, I teach fencing because I love teaching fencing, but it's the most important thing for the kids. If a child has a problem, you don't identify it sitting in class. You identify it in social interaction with the kids during playtime. As an adult, what do you do all day? You sit around. Okay, so when do you get health and fitness and relaxation is during recreation, playtime. So I saw my fencing program with that philosophy. Then I got lucky along the way, and I just want you to be the best fencer you can be. If you have the brain, if you really love it and you connect to it, now you come in to me as a dyslexic 10-year-old and become world champion 6 years later for me. And I was the first American coach to train a male world champion for the United States. But fencing is fencing. So I also trained a beginning mom at 40, late 40s, and by the time she was 50, she was world champion in women's saber. Okay? And I just enjoy also the process and figuring out how to teach something for the kids, figuring out games. And the business grew and grew and grew, and then I had to start training my own coaches. My wife is also a fencing coach. She manages one of my 2 facilities, and she's writing her thesis to work on her master's. She's a master's candidate. They let her skip over Prevot technically, and she's, hasn't had time to sit for Prevot, but they said, okay, great, well, I also was a product of the USFA's Coaches College, which gave me the theoretical background to what I had learned as an athlete from these great coaches, what I had learned in some cases apprenticing with them, and then Coaches College from the USFA gave me a theoretical academic background to understand better how to teach what I had ideas about teaching. It's a tragedy that was faded away, okay, because it really, and I used to send my assistant coaches and pay for their training to go there to get certified, okay? And the USFCA now, we are moving in that direction. I think we have lots more work to do. We have to return in some ways to the master-apprentice model also for all the moniteurs. Okay, they've got work to do. How they learn it, they have to find a master to work with, hopefully. And that's what I try to do with all my assistant coaches are moniteurs. It's required for them. And then I help them try to move forward to their more advanced levels. And then I managed to make a living. And what else do I do? Well, my day job is managing a business. Okay, and I tell that to people, and they go, "Oh, really? What business do you manage?" Well, the Fencing Academy, Philadelphia. Oh, where's that?
Tell our listeners about the award that you received at the general meeting tonight.
I think it's fabulous. Get a certificate of recognition of merit and award before you're dead.
Congratulations on that, by the way.
Well, I would, again, that's the benefits of staying healthy and active. Fencing masters are notoriously long-lived for a lot of different reasons we're finding out. So I'm also researching that, and our motto at FAP is, fencing for ages 8 to 80. And I have had older than 80 there fencing, but it sounds better. Okay.
Are you a master in all 3 weapons?
Yes, I'm a maître des armes, and I have, European friends who are fencing masters, and they kind of go with this idea that, you can be a fencing master in 1 weapon. Oh, really? But it's also something that we need to do because it recognizes that it's a lot of work to maybe get it in all 3 weapons. On the other hand, as a fencing master in all 3 weapons, it's become all the same to me. It's just little differences of technique, a little bit different distances. I'm cueing at this distance or this distance. What's the difference between a épée stop hit and a saber stop cut? Just the way the hand is turned. Okay, maybe the tactical application varies, but at a certain point, they're all the same. And I think really to be a master, one should do it. You should be at least in a Prevot in 3 weapons, because each weapon has something to teach and suggest to the other weapons, and the refereeing of saber and foil remains fluid. And epee is what foil used to be. Foil is what saber used to be, and saber is, I think, like epee in some ways.
Now, you have done the sport for a long time, and you're at the highest level of certification in all three weapons. So what would someone with your level of coaching be able to learn or experience here at Coaches Academy?
Well, I got two new ideas for games.
Well, there you go.
And I'm always looking for something new. The demonstration today by Dan was, how he had his student starting an action was very interesting. I didn't understand it, and he hadn't really explained it, so I asked him later, why is your student doing that? Oh, that's an interesting idea. I never thought of that. Oh, that could make my coaching life easier. And I thought it was a tactical purpose, and it was simply a pedagogical purpose for the coach's benefit, not for the student's benefit.
Are you talking about the little bounce that he would do before he started?
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
But did anybody ask him?
You did.
Yeah. So only I know the secret.
But now all the people listening to this do too.
No, they're going to find it out. I didn't tell you why it was. It was to let the coach know that the athlete was going to start.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I found that a very interesting idea.
Well, do you have any additional comments about the academy or the people that you've met here?
All the candidates, shall we say, that I've met are all great people. Okay, and they're all here for only one reason, and that's because they love fencing. And that's the reason I'm here. And I'm egotistical enough to think that what I have to say is important, and arrogant enough to think that they want to listen. But that's just, confidence is mistaken for arrogance and egotism for the truth, right? But so I'm trying to give back, and I'm on the single-payer healthcare system now, so that's a certain point where I don't want to run up and down the strip anymore. Okay, and I have apprentices to do the grunt work of teaching the basics, and then I teach them to teach the basics, and then I get to cherry-pick the students that I really want to work with, and then they get the special needs kids, the slower whatever. But I want to give them good students also. And so then I, at some point, can just be a businessman and, collect the money, but I also...
Live off the sweat of others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not my own sweat. But I enjoy sweating, so... but, maybe there's somebody here who does want to come and be an apprentice in Philadelphia. And it's also, it's a business investment for me, and I can make contacts. Like, this is fabulous also, because I have some ideas of how I'd like to present video education. Vinnie Bradford, it was fabulous to see her entering back in again. She helped me learn to be a coach back in the day when there was USFA Coaches College, and she was out of it. I'm fabulous that I see her coming back into it again. It's also kind of cool knowing people that I know, but who honestly I didn't know were coaches, or what they're doing, because we see each other in different roles at tournaments and things like that. So, and this is a nice college.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, my name is James Miller. I'm from the Fencing Academy of Philadelphia, the acronym of which will not be said on the air. I've been fencing, I guess, approximately now for a little over a year. And besides coaching, I'm an actor and a writer and an odd jobber, as all people of that ilk are. I became a fencing coach because when I first wanted to learn to fence, I couldn't quite afford the lessons. And so I came to the academy and asked if I could do work study. So I started as the janitor. And then they needed a new armorer, so I became the armorer. And then one of the coaches wanted sabbatical, and they needed an assistant coach, so I became an assistant coach. And then they needed a full-time coach, so I became a full-time coach.
Wow. You literally worked your way from the ground up.
Yeah.
That's a really cool story. Wow. Now, tonight is a big night for you because you have earned some certifications here. So tell us about them.
Today I earned my official Moniteur de fleuret, as the French would say, or a monitor of foil.
Félicitations.
Merci beaucoup. C'est rien, c'est rien.
Why did you decide to come to this year's academy?
I really wanted to improve my coaching skills because I guess that's an obvious answer, but you know, it's like when you're face down with a horde of children, it helps to be armed with some knowledge.
It's amazing how that does benefit one.
It really does help. And my coach, Mark Masters, I just call him Maestro, highly encouraged me to do so because he said it would be, a good experience. Mm-hmm. And I found out I could last minute, so I hopped in a car and came up, and it's been really great.
That's great. Of all the things that you've learned here, what stands out to you most?
The way that more experienced fencing coaches structure their drills, structure the way they progress from beginning drills to the ending drills. I had a good idea of how to structure a progression in a coaching situation, but never in the amount of detail and with the amount of precision that I just sort of picked up here. I've been really impressed with the way that the progression work is done. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Any additional comments about the academy or the other participants?
Everyone here is kind of like freakishly, insanely kind. It's been really fun to be around a whole bunch of people who love to share their information and their knowledge. And I guess the last thing I'll say is it's hilarious at times how little gets done in a session of the intended material at times, because every time there's a question, at least one person coaches someone on how it's done. So, it's, so it's like it's every stop someone's coaching something. Oh, no, you want to take the braid like this. And, so it was fun to watch that kind of, all those tangents. Very helpful, but, sort of hilariously off topic.
Yeah, like you're supposed to have 2 hours of X. And it's like 2 hours of how to parry 15 different ways. Or,
right. Is it a compound attack? Is it a preparation? What is it? So,
yeah. Coaches' discussions, it is a lot of fun.
My name is Tim Robinson. I'm from Santa Barbara, California, where I coach the UC Santa Barbara Fencing Club and a community club called Presidio Fencing Club. I've been fencing for a little over 20 years, I guess, but most of that has been coaching. And besides coaching, I work at UC Santa Barbara in a research lab.
Why did you decide to become a fencing coach?
There wasn't a lot of fencing in Santa Barbara, so when I learned, it was mostly student taught, and we would drive to Los Angeles for lessons every once in a while. And shortly after graduating, the person who taught a recreational class at the university decided to retire. And because I had fenced before, they asked me if I would jump into that. Mm-hmm. And since I already worked at UCSB, it was easy to get the time to teach it. Mm-hmm. And so I did, and I didn't look back. Had a lot of fun.
What level of certification are you trying to earn here?
I'm not actually trying to earn any certification here. I'm currently a Prevot in all 3 weapons, and I'm just coming to experience it and watch lessons and see what people have to offer.
And tell me about this amazing sword that you got over here on the wall. What was that from?
Well, so this is the De Ladrier sword, and it's the annual award given out to the Coach of the Year, and I won this award for the success of the UCSB team over this past season.
That's really incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Why did you decide to come to this year's academy?
Well, it's at a college that is trying to build a fencing program, and being from a non-NCAA collegiate club, programs like this have a special place in my mind, and so I wanted to see what this club was about and see what this campus had to offer and just sort of check everything out.
What have you learned here?
I had the privilege of talking with Kenny Nopins, who is at Schoolhouse Fencing in Utah, and it was great to pick his brain and hear what he has to say about the sport of épée.
And any additional comments about the academy or the participants?
I think homegrown coaching is a good thing and can be very successful. And I think learning to coach at some level also can make you a better fencer. It can also make you a worse competitive fencer because you're getting hit all day. But learning the actions inside and out and learning the critical and technical aspects is very important. And also getting to hear what Dan Kellner had to say about modern foil fencing was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was a great presentation today.
Yeah.
For more information about the United States Fencing Coaches Association, check out their website, usfca.org. You can also find them on Facebook. Thank you, as always, to my friend Tony Escueda, who does all of the editing of the interviews for this podcast and who is the creator of all of the music that you hear on it. Thank you as well to my husband David Sierra, who created the logo for this podcast and who helps me create the questions for some of my interviews. A big thanks to Cutting Edge Fencing Center, my sponsor, whose generous donation allowed me to get the Saber Coach Kate podcast swag that I give out at various places around the country. Also thanks to listeners such as yourself who make this podcast fun to do and who keep me doing all of these interviews. Other episodes of this podcast can be found on iTunes or on my blog, sabercoachkate.wordpress.com. I also make weekly posts on fencing Reddit and on fencing.net every time I post a new episode. Please feel free to email me at sabercoachkate@gmail.com with any suggestions or comments that you have about these interviews. If you have anyone that you would particularly like to have me interview, please let me know. Tune in next week as I chat with Olympic saber fencer Keith Smart. Keith has many notable accomplishments on the fencing strip, but is known in more recent years for starting his own company, Physiclo. Physiclo has invented high-quality compression gear with built-in resistance for a more productive workout.